Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragon Z. Recently, the online community was burned down by Marvel Studio with trailer for Avengers Endgame. Although it's just a short trailer and the information is not much, but it can't stop us from analyzing the movie and what we can expect in Avengers Endgame. So let's analyze it. Trailer opened with Iron Man in his hat. If you remember that during the battle with Thanos, Iron Man was stripped of most of the nanobits on his body, and perhaps that hat was the only thing left after that horrifying battle. Tony's first action was to send the message to his lover Pepper Potts, and according to the messages he had said, we could see most clearly how bad the situation is now. Tony said water and food have been exhausted since 4 days ago. Oxygen is only enough to supply until the next morning. This means that Tony has only a very limited time before facing death. But of course, Iron Man could not die like that. Tony used to fall into extremely bad situations but still escape death, so we can say that Iron Man will escape that situation.
Let's first find out where Tony is. He is on the spaceship Benatar, lost in the giant space of the universe. Benatar is the second ship of the Guardians of the Galaxy. But this is also the time when the battle on Titans has ended, so he is not too far from the Earth. So his ability to be saved is quite certain. And here are 4 ways that Iron Man can be rescued. The easiest and most obvious hypothesis is Captain Marvel. At the end of the Avengers Infinity War, we saw Nick Fury send a message to Captain Marvel and called for her help, and surely Captain Marvel will definitely appear in the Avengers Endgame. So perhaps in her journey back to Earth, Captain Marvel will see the Benatar ship hovering between endless space and rescuing Tony Stark. The second hypothesis is the keyword that Tony said. He said part of journey is the end, just for record. Being adrift in space with zero promise of rescue is more fun than sounds. The key word here is rescue. In the behind-the-scenes photos of the Avengers Endgame, we saw Pepper Potts wearing the rescue armor. It is possible that Pepper Potts found the rescue armor that Tony created for him and used it to rescue Tony. The third hypothesis, you remember that Thor now has a half-axe, half-hammer weapon called Stormbreaker, and it has the ability to summon Brisfort to teleport through space. Somehow, when knowing that Tony was still alive, Thor would come and rescue his friend. And of course no one knows why Thor could know that the Avengers were fighting in Wakanda to get there. So it is quite possible that Thor naturally knows where Iron Man is located in the universe. The last hypothesis is that Iron Man will save himself through what he has. Tony has always been a character capable of overcoming difficult situations. We can see the similarities of Iron Man 1 and Avengers Endgame when Iron Man wears the same suit in similar situation. In Iron Man 1, Tony created his Iron Man armor to escape. So the possibility of Tony once again demonstrating his genius for self-rescue is entirely possible. After we see the Marvel Studios logo turn into dust, the puppet Thanos appears exactly like the last pages of the legendary comic series called Infinity Gauntlet. Then we saw Thanos walking in the middle of the grass on the planet called Titans 2 with his hand still wearing Infinity Gauntlet. We can see after all that happened, Thanos kept the gauntlet firmly. Perhaps in part because the gauntlet was soldered to his hand after Thanos' snap, or perhaps because he didn't want anyone to get his gauntlet.
At that moment, Black Widow said Thanos did exactly what he said he was gonna do. He wiped out 50% of all living creatures. This is a very important detail that I will explain to you soon, so don't rush. And we can see the influence of Thanos' snap coming to Captain America. He was blown away with all the stubble on his face. The next scene is Bruce Banner standing in front of the information board of those who have gone missing after a snap called the Decimation. On this information board we see the name of Scott Lang, Ant-Man. This is an extremely special detail that will directly relate to what I'm about to say. Next to Scott Lang was Shuri, and then changed to Peter Parker. This detail implies that Shuri has also been turned into dust or disappeared after the battle at Wakanda. We can only see M'Baku and General Okoye surviving the snap, so it is likely that Shuri is dead, or maybe not. Who knows? The Avengers headquarters were also deserted. Thor sat alone. He just went through an extremely painful journey. He had just lost his hammer, lost his father, lost his home, lost his hair in Thor Ragnarok, and was immediately struck by Thanos and lost half of his nation, lost his brother. Lost his best friend Heimdall, and now he has nothing but a hammer. There is a lot of information now that the decimation also affected half of the remaining Asgard peoples. If this is true, then Thor will have only a quarter of his people left, and this will definitely add salt to Thor's heart. After Thor we saw Nebula in the Benatar. After facing Thanos on Titans, only Nebula and Tony Stark survived. But soon after, we saw her hand on someone's shoulder. And now there is no one but Tony. Maybe this is when Nebula said goodbye to Tony to get help. Nebula is half machine and half human, and she is much more proficient in space than Tony, so her ability to seek help is much higher. But this may also be the time when all viewers will burst into tears when Nebula says goodbye to Tony when he dies on the ship Benatar. I hope this is not true because we never want Tony to die so rudely like this. And now it's time for a character that everyone expected to appear to be Hawkeye Ronin. We can clearly see that the Black Widow is looking for Hawkeye and met him in Japan. If we pay close attention, we can see that there are 3 dead bodies around him and he is wearing Ronin's black suit. The previous part is an allusion to the Avengers, and the latter is an allusion to Hawkeye's family. The word Ronin can be interpreted as a derelict swordsman, and Hawkeye was built as a character who very loving his family. He gave up his hero's life to take care of his wife and children. So what made Hawkeye come back? One theory was that Thanos' snap of the finger had caused Hawkeye's family to disappear, and perhaps that was true. Hawkeye has lost his family and he is going crazy. Now as a new man, Ronin, he has lost a part of himself and now he has become a completely different person. The next scene is that the Black Widow and Captain America stand side by side. We can see that the armor the Captain is wearing is the armor he wore in the Winter Soldier. In his hand was now Peggy Carter's compass from the first Avenger. According to live information from Chris Evans, who plays Captain America, he will end his role of Captain America after the movie. And the fact that the film has the elements of his first 2 films shows his gratitude for the role of Captain America. I know it is 'cause I don't. Black Widow and Captain said this is gonna work, Steve. I know it is 'cause I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't. This shows that they are having an extremely impossible plan. So what is that plan? Let's speculate. The Avengers 4 logo has appeared. We can see the puzzle pieces assembled together into an big A and the name of the movie. As you know, the Avengers logo in the previous sections always describes the main content of the film. The Avengers 2012 has the Tesseract's blue light. Avengers Age of Ultron has shaping and coloring of Ultron. Avengers Infinity War has yellow and light colors of Infinity Gauntlet. So the Avengers Endgame logo must definitely describe something. It is obvious that here is the reunion of the pieces that show that the Avengers will reunite once and for all. But what I want to point out here is that the dust particles that come together form a giant A, just as Captain America and Black Widow talk about a very impossible plan. It is possible that the content will revolve around finding ways to reborn the characters that have turned into dust in the Avengers Infinity War. The lost reincarnation plan is not possible enough for what the Captain is talking about. Besides that, Spider-Man Far From Home has officially filmed and is going to be filmed in the future. So I am pretty sure that they will succeed, but what they have to do to save everyone? The answer was in the following scene when Scott Lang appeared. Scott mentioned that they had met each other several years ago at an airport in Germany. This is the battle in Captain America 3 Civil War. Captain was surprised and asked, "Is just an old message?" Some people believe that Ant-Man has traveled time, but I disagree. Before that we had a statistic scene of the lost people and Scott was one of them. Seeing all his friends disappear has made Captain and Black Widow believe Scott is gone too. So they think Scott's return is not true and what they are seeing is just the message pre-collected and replay only. But this is also a very important detail in Avengers Endgame. If you have seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, you probably know that Ant-Man was trapped in the quantum world at the time while the Dine family had disappeared. Scott, because he was stuck in that world, so he was not affected. Before he got into this world, Janet Van Dyne had said not to be sucked into the whirlwind of time. No one could save him. And in the scene where Scott appears in the trailer, we can clearly see the car that contains the teleport gate behind Scott's back. Black Widow said that the world has been scanned half and quite sure of that. Bruce Banner also stood in front of the statistics of the missing people. This scene reinforces this assumption, but Scott's re-export proves that 50% is inaccurate. Thanos' snap did not affect Scott. The world has lost 50% when Scott is in the quantum world, and now Scott is a huge question mark. This leads to the hope that those who have disappeared may be reborn. This detail leads to the Avengers making their plans and saving those who have disappeared. And of course this is impossible, but the quantum world is where Marvel Studios has yet to dig and explain to viewers, so this is the key detail in Avengers Endgame. I thought they would use Hank Pym's ship to get in and get out like the way Scott did. The access road is the present time and the way out is that sometime in the past. The Avengers will find the stones in the past to give themselves another infinity gauntlet and take another snap to bring the Avengers and the creatures are gone back. And that's all I can draw from the trailer for Avengers Endgame. Actually, this is just a trailer and we've never seen Captain Marvel appear. This can be considered the biggest movie event in the last decade, and even if you are not a Marvel fan, this is still a great experience. This trailer is only for the purpose of bringing the Avengers Endgame name to the spectator, but no matter what, this is a huge promise to fans from the producers. So please look forward to it. Okay, and that's all we can say today. Thank you very much for listening. If this is the first time you come to Dragon Z, do not forget to click like and subscribe to me, and do not forget to press the notification button to not miss any video in the future. See you in the next videos.